Black classism is one of the most quiet, coercive forces in our community. And it's everywhere. It's literally everywhere. It affects those who believed. It affects those who get respected. It affects who gets heard. And it affects who gets left behind. Right? And it's often rooted in survival, ambition, and pride, but it's also just a byproduct of historical trauma and forced assimilation. So we're just going to go through it all, right? Historically, structurally, and culturally, so we can see how it operated over time and why it still divides us today like this. So post-slavery, we got to see the first black elite. So after emancipation, some black people gained access to education, land, or skilled labor. They became teachers, ministers, business owners. They were seen as the model Negroes. These early elites embraced respectability politics to distance themselves from white violence and protect their upward mobility. But here's some of the key traits of that time period. An emphasis on European-style dress, manners, grammar, and religion. Shame or racial or erasure of rural, southern, or unrefined black expression, and a desire to gain white approval for the sake of safety and legitimacy. But that safety came at a cost. Black elites often judge, dismiss, and ignore working class and the poor majority. But then we got to see the second one, right? Which is the Harlem Renaissance and the HBCU culture, and really the performance of the talented 10th. So W.E.B. Du Bois believed that the top 10% of educated black people will uplift the race. Right? It was well-intentioned, but it implicitly creates the hierarchy based on value and on education, diction, and proximity to whiteness. So in the HBCUs and middle-class circles, colorism, classism, and elitism flourished. Lighter-skinned, well-spoken students were favored. Poor or rural students were seen as needing refinement. Right? Black folks who didn't perform Eurocentric respectability were often just rejected as embarrassing the race. Right? Respectability wasn't just a behavior, it was a border. And I need people to understand there's no amount of education and there's no amount of suffering that can make you more black. You are inherently, right, good enough, right? Like you have the right to be average. So then we had the civil rights era, right? We get to see more class tensions inside of that movement. So in this one, who gets the spotlight? The middle class, the church-aligned leaders often just led the narrative. Working class black folks were often the foot soldiers, but weren't always recognized as thought leaders. And who gets dismissed in this kind of time period? Malcolm X criticized black elites for compromising within the system, and the Black Panthers, right, elevated poor and working class voices, but were painted as radical and dangerous. Classism became a gatekeeper within liberation work itself. But we got to talk about the crack era with this, right? And this is how we get to see the rise of the respectable Negro, right? Good black versus bad black. As drugs and poverty really devastated black communities, media, and politics, right? They encouraged black respectables to separate from the thugs, the welfare queens, and ghetto black people, right? Bill Cosby famously said, "We are not Africans, we are Americans. Pull your pants up." This is an example of this problem, right? Okay, and the politics of respectability took over. Speaking proper, going to college, voting the right way became moral qualifiers. Classism fed into internal policing, anti-black shame, and disconnection from street culture. Black poor folks became the problem, not the system that had abandoned them. But it's still going on today, right? And these are some of the markers that someone that you're talking to is directly a classist, right? So judging people's blackness by where they live and how they speak and what they wear, you're probably classist. Shaming black folks for working class jobs or not having ambition, probably classist. And centering celebrities, entrepreneurs, and HBCU grads while ignoring the poor, disabled, and incarcerated black voices, you're probably classist. I went to a HBCU. And that's definitely classist to say. And the soft life aesthetic that ignores class struggle entirely, right? Aesthetic classism online is also another problem, right? It usually glorifies certain kinds of black success, right? That get visibility, polished, wealthy, curated, right? Street culture is imitated by influencers, but those who live within it are still demonized. And mental health, rest, and joy are branded, right? But often it's just out of reach for working class black folks. They got this whole look to it. And there's an emotional cost to black classism. It creates generational guilt and silence. Children ashamed of their parents' jobs or speech, right? It makes poor black folks feel unseen, unheard, and uninvited to black success. It causes middle-class black people to feel disconnected, inauthentic, or like traitors. It blocks cross-class community building, even when everyone shares the same trauma. Okay, but here's where the remedy is. Black unity ain't really just about race. It's about class consciousness, too. Okay, so we need to uplift without policing. Not everyone will speak the same, or dress the same, or carry degrees, but that doesn't make them less brilliant or worthy. We need to tell about how you got where you are. Was it the military? Was it scholarships? Did your parent have a government job? Don't pretend it was just a grind. That's why I always talk about being regular, because specialty can't be the reason given we all sharing this one moment. And also, don't romanticize poverty, but also don't moralize wealth. We are navigating a system designed to make us feel inadequate. Be honest about it. Okay, and also recenter working class black brilliance, movements, culture, language, style, resistance. All of it comes from the bottom, not from the boardroom. Okay, and also stop using class to police black femininity and masculinity. Streetwear is not ignorance. Code switching is not weakness. Proper is not superior. All right, it's just what it is. Black classism is not natural. It was taught. It was engineered. If it could be taught, it could be unlearned. And the moment that we drop the class performance and embrace all the versions of black survival and expression and power, we can become a whole community again, right? But as long as we continue to honor these ruthless divisions, right, none of it designed by us, we'll continue to participate in a hierarchy that is merely just forest for the trees, cage for the bars. You get it.